Okay, we're live.
Thank you, Mansur. So welcome everyone, and welcome to our community event for this morning. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about. So today we're going to talk about what to do on your first 2 weeks as a product manager with Mariano, product manager at LogMeIn. Before giving the screen to Mariano, I would like to present myself and what we do at Product People. I'm Elisa Cantamessa, Associate Product Manager, and I've been in Product People since February, and it's been an amazing journey. But what we do at Product People, who we are, we help companies discover and deliver great product faster, and how we do that. First of all, thanks to you, our community, that are joining from Zoom, YouTube, LinkedIn, or every other platform you're joining us. That's really helping us to provide good content, and also with your help, always the questions are really engaging and help us discover something new during every talk. But we are not only a community, we're actually a legal entity, and we are interim product manager consultancy. So we help business on an interim basis to improve their product base. Now, you can see these are some of the company we had helped so far in our journey. And now, please let me introduce Mariano, product manager at LogMeIn. And Mariano, I let you share the screen. So.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. I think there we are in full screen. Okay. Thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. Yes, what I'm going to be talking today is about what to do on your first 2 weeks as a product manager. You know, those first weeks when you start a new job and you are basically lost, you are switching your domain probably, or you are switching your product for sure, whatever, into how to get the best from those initial weeks. In my personal experience, those first weeks are something really crucial and are something that you can really take advantage of. Why? Because during those first 2 weeks, you don't have the pressure to deliver. You don't have the pressure to be delivering value. Nobody will be expecting for you to join a company on a Monday and to be making a strategic decision that will lead to value being provided to a user by Tuesday. So you should be really careful and you should be really conscious on how you take advantage and how you use those first weeks in your favor to set yourself for success in the longer run. To start with, I will introduce myself. Who am I? Well, I'm Mariano. I'm a product manager at LogMeIn, and I have a master in systems engineering. Yes, yet another product manager with a technical background, with an engineering background. And what I did was I switched domains during the pandemic after a couple of years working in healthcare. When this talk came from what happened to me when I decided to switch domains, to switch jobs, and to start something new. I started wondering, okay, what's going on here? I started reaching other more senior product manager, other more senior product leads, and I also started researching the internet. Okay, how do you settle yourself as a product manager in a new place? So the main question I had was, what do I do now? I was starting a new job. Previously, to be fair, my first product job, it was a transition within the same company. I was working as a software engineer, so there was not a lot to get to know about the product. It was more about get to know about the process and some mechanics, but it was not something completely new. Now I was in a new domain. I was going from healthcare to communication services, and I was, to be fair, terrified on how do you tackle this challenge. Also, I had the extra spice of we have a pandemic going on, so everything is going to be virtual. What do you do? Does it change anything? To be fair, the answer was always the same. You do the same, but remotely. Yep, you're going to end up doing the same as you used to do, but now you will be using virtual rooms instead of an old meeting room. But what do you miss here? You're going to be missing those casual interactions, for example, the famous water fountain or the coffee machine interactions with your colleagues to get to know them better in a more personal way or to establish relationships, etc. What you need to do now is you need to be more structured. I would say that that's the main difference with the remote or non-remote environment. When you're in a remote environment, you need to be more structured and you need to be more conscious of the interactions that you are getting because you're going to be requiring to, for example, book a time slot from someone to be able to talk to them, even if it's some small talk, that you need to have some small talk with your stakeholders. Um, just as a disclaimer, I know that each company has its own onboarding plan. What I'm aiming to do today is more about like general advice on, okay, you are just starting, where you should be focusing, etc. And this is from what I've learned in my personal experience and also from talking with a lot of other product colleagues on what do they do or what do they recommend when you start a new job. So it's not the idea to give you a receipt for an onboarding plan for your product managers. There are a lot of cool articles and cool books on that. And yeah, I think that having a good onboarding for product managers is something crucial on any company, because if you can speed up the onboarding, then that's awesome. Having that said, um, let's jump into it. Okay, I think one of the most important things to do when you are starting as a new product manager is to set your network. Why? Because as a product manager, one of your main things is communication, and you need to know who to communicate what. So I would highly recommend you to plan your introduction meetings, go through the organization chart and see, okay, who is relevant, who is not, chat it with your manager, with your team, who shall you know, and set it at least for, I don't know, 15 minutes introduction calls. Because I know that it's hard sometimes to find time slots to fit, I don't know, 30 or 45 minutes for an introduction call. But if you can do it, it's better. Just get to know everyone you can, get to analyze who are the decision makers, who has the ownership of what. Also, try to get like real questions answered from that introduction meetings. Don't go to them just to say, hi, my name is this, I will be starting here, I'm located there. Try to get something deeper. Try to know, basically, I think that the main question I try always to answer on the introduction meetings is, what questions shall I be asking this person in the future? And I usually keep a list of, okay, this person has the ownership of this, and the kind of questions that they can answer are these. And I made like an exemplary module of questions that they can answer. So then I know when I have some questions that I will probably have a lot, who to reach out. Also, take in consideration these introduction calls to be able to take the perception that the organization has on product. You will find out that product is really seen different on different organizations, and maybe your previous experience is different to what it will be on the new company. So just be mindful of understanding what is a perception, What are they expecting from you? What are they expecting from your role? And what are they expecting from your team? Um, I think that's something really important also is to you to know what kind of questions do they expect from you to answer. What are the problems that they are assuming that you are owning? So you can set clear expectations, and then you can discuss with your manager if there is something that you find out that you didn't think it was in your scope or whatever. I mean, take the best of it. Also, it will give you an idea of how does the collaboration work within the company. That's something really important to see. Okay, how do they usually collaborate or communicate with other departments, with other teams, whatever. And I think that's something that could also fit here is to start doing an analysis on how do they approach the product. Check out on, okay, how do they frame their problems? How do they see their competition? Who do they see as competition? And also to get to know the problem that is owned by each colleague. Also, take it in consideration that here you should start meeting all your tech people that will be probably really close to you, and designers, also marketing. And not don't just bubble yourself within like product direct network as in product department. Go broad, go to talk with the marketing representative, go to talk with the salesperson, go to talk within the engineering tree with the manager you will be talking to, with the lead, and with the developers. Try to cover as much as you can so you get to know better the organization, or at least your pillar. Then something that came from here is that you should be listening. You should listen a lot. That's something that I think that is really valuable within your first weeks, that you practice active listening. You should be really paying attention to what people are sharing. And I think that the best example I can see for this, or well, not the best example, but the best way to summarize it is that you should be listening to understand and not listening to reply. That's something that happens a lot, that we are in a mood that we are like listening, trying to find out what to reply to what we are listening to. And this is more about listening to understand what's going on. Also, feel free to ask questions to clarify things. I mean, there are going to be a lot of stuff that you don't know. Why? Because this is a new product. There will be new acronyms, there will be new terms. Don't be afraid of asking stuff. Um, there are no silly questions, and it would help you a lot in the long run if you don't understand something to ask it now. Mainly, we have like a lot of terms and acronyms within product to talk about different scores and stuff like that. So go for it, ask everything. Also, something that I will recommend you here, that was something recommended by an old manager, is to attend to all the meetings that you can on those first 2 weeks as a listener. What do I mean by all the meetings that you can? Uh, Potentially, as a product manager, you will be you will have multiple development teams working on your product. You will probably not be part of the daily meetings of all of them on a daily basis during your regular work, if you want to say, once you are already on board, etc. But now that you have the time, probably take time to go to all these daily meetings. Take time to know how are the dynamics, the workflows, the preferred tools that all of them have. Both your developer teams, your development teams, and your design teams too. It depends on which kind of product you are. You will have both or not. I'm talking more about the development team because I'm more in a backend product, backend, yeah. So we don't really have a design side. Also, here is where you can start learning on the culture of the company and how do they build. I mean, you can start getting to know, okay, how empowered are the teams? How do they work? Do they just pick up tickets for development, or do they have active discussions within their sessions, chatting about the problem? Where do they set the ownership? I mean, all of this is stuff that you need to get to be able to fit better once you are working head to head with them. And also something else that I think that is really important to do is to create your own narrative. As product managers, something that you probably heard a lot is that we are storytellers. So what you should be doing is to start writing your new story. What do I mean by this? You need to start getting the idea of what is the problem, who is the user, why are we doing all this? That's something really important that you need to have it flowing by you like really easily. We are going to be missionaries. We are going to be evangelizing about the problem that we are trying to tackle. So please take your time into understanding the problems that you own now and into have it like really, yeah, to assimilate it really well. Um, Also from there, you can start getting to know what is your leverage within the company or within the big product scheme. Probably you are not the only product manager in the company. So each of them will be having their own problem, and you will have like the big subsequent problem that all the company is trying to solve. Try to find what is your leverage within that whole scope, and to find out where can you help the most. I think that's something really crucial to get to know how can you provide the most value to the company and to the user. So use your time to really think about it. Also, by doing this, you will probably get a lot more of clarity and context on what are you doing. And don't worry about any kind of gaps that you will have in your narrative at the beginning, because it's normal, it will happen. You will just fill the gaps later when you are getting more knowledge and you are getting more into it. So yeah, don't rush yourself into your day-to-day activities. Don't try to push yourself to be productive into what is expected from you in those day-to-day activities. You're still in your first 2 weeks. Use this for yourself and to learn your environment and get the context. Also, check your peers' stories. What do I mean? You go to talk with your peers and you need to understand what's the problem that they see, how do they tackle their problem, etc. You will find out in different organizations that sometimes the problems get siloed. What do I mean by this? A lot of people start working like on sub problems and they are really focused there, and you need to really understand what are they working on to try to understand how do you collaborate with them and how does everything fit in the big picture. It's always good to know exactly what's going on with other groups. At the end of the day, I think that what you need to do within your first weeks, within your first couple of weeks as a product manager, is to build the foundations for your new role. The pillars for a product manager are, as we said before, communication, understanding your team, and understanding your product. I think those are the three main things that you have. So spending time on each of them will probably save you a lot of time in the future. When I say understanding your product, I am there including understanding the problem that you are trying to solve, understanding your user, all that I'm bagging it into that. And yeah, basically that's it. Also, don't forget to be open. I mean, If someone has hired you, it's because they are interested in you and your opinion. So be open, chat with your manager, spotlight whatever you think that should be spotlighted. Just good luck and be strong in those first 2 weeks. Thank you all. And I think that we can open the Q&A. Elisa, I
Yes.
will handle it to you.
Yes, thank you. Do you mind let me sharing my screen? Thank you. Okay. So, can you see my screen? Okay, so before going through any Q&A, let me give you some time. And in the meantime, I will present a bit better how product people help usually company. So what do we do as an interim product company? So we typically are useful to different teams when maybe your company got fundings and you need to grow your product team, or when one of your PM is currently on a parental leave, so we can support you during that time, or also during hiring process. They can take a lot of more sometimes to find the correct fit for your company, and in this case, we can help you during that time. We can also help during a temporary initiative that maybe something is urgent or really important to tackle, and we can help. And also we help to appraise your product team and process and help you understand what are the best practice for your company and this the environment you're in. Uh, I want also to share with you some of the feedback we've been receiving with our client. One of them is about me. I'm really happy to see that here. But we usually have really good feedback, and the client seems always happy to work with us. Without further ado, I want to also to introduce you our team. We are a really diverse team, legal base in Berlin, but we are all around the world. There's someone in Barcelona like me. We have someone in Cork, Ireland, also Cyprus, Berlin, of course, but all around the world. And if you would like to be part of of our team, we are actually hiring both for a product management role, but also for a talent acquisition manager. In the past 2 months, we've been growing so much, and we actually need your help to even grow more. So if you have this quality or know someone who have this quality, please suggest to apply. We are also looking for a team an executive assistant. As you imagine, as we are scaling, we may need more assistant to help our founder during all the background work, or also helping us solving problems. So as well, if you know someone or are interested in applying, please go to productpeople.join.com, and we hope to see you there. Now, it's time for your question. If you are on YouTube, LinkedIn, please comment. If you're here on Zoom and you want to raise your hand and speak to Mariano directly, please do. Otherwise, as well, any comments are really welcomed. Okay, so I also have a question. So you mentioned about listening to understand, which is something I really like as a phrase, not listen to respond, but listen how to understand. And what do you think are the main characteristics to someone who's trying to listen to understand and not to answer?
I think the main focus there is on, the main thing is on how you focus, on what are you focusing on while you are listening. A lot of times I know it happened to me that while I'm listening to, for example, now I'm listening to your question and I'm trying to start diagramming my answer and okay, what shall I answer, where shall I be focusing, etc., instead of trying to really add that information into my network, if you want to say it into that way. I think it's more about being more conscious on what we are listening and not start thinking about what are we going to reply while the other person is talking to, and more thinking on how does this information fit within the other information that I have already absorbed in this topic. I think that that would be at high level what I meant. I know that there are a lot of techniques for active listening, and everything is related to that, to not start listening trying to formulate an answer, but to absorb the knowledge and to really get to the second layer of, okay, what are they telling me?
Thank you so much. That's really interesting. Now we have a question from LinkedIn. Thais is asking, what is expected from a product manager during the first 2 weeks beside feel the environment?
I think that that's the main thing that is expected. It will probably change from company to company and from situation to situation. But I guess that the main thing that you expect within the first 2 weeks is someone to start understanding what's the product, what's the problem, to start feeling the problem, and to also start feeling the environment and who to contact. I don't think that there are way more expectations unless that you go into a really, singular situation where you are required to start doing something else. But I guess that you will probably feel that before starting that job.
Yes, no, that's a really nice question and answer. Thank you. Now we have a question from YouTube by Garami. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it necessary to have a very strong technical background to be a successful PM?
Definitely no. I would say that it will depend on the product you are working on, but not to be a PM in general. Probably it will help you to have a strong technical background if you're going to be working on a product, for example, that everything you're exposing is an API, for example, or something like that, something like really heavy on the back end or something like that. But as a general affirmation, I would say no. You
Yes,
have people coming from product from multiple areas. I think that we've had a lot of talks within this cycle of people sharing their experiences on how did they get into product from areas like psychology, design, etc. And I think that there is one upcoming talk, please correct me if I'm wrong, from one of your colleagues about how to get into product from a non-product background.
yes,
So highly recommended to go into that talk if you're interested in that.
yes, exactly. Joanne, our colleague, will show her experience and will be next week. Yes. Yes, also one of the colleague of us, like I have a communication background, so as has more a scientific research background, other even low background. So it's really there's no need to have a technical background. So now another question from Alice from LinkedIn. What are 3 good books a PM should read in your opinion?
I think I will fall into the classic recommendations, inspired by Marty Kagan. Fun fact, you have him here last Tuesday, so if you didn't see it, you can go to watch the Ask Me Anything that he held here at Product People. Really, I think that Inspired was one of the books that made me go into product when I was still not there. And then I would also recommend Escaping the Build Trap by Melissa Perry. Really great book to start getting to know what is this kind of more of a modern product manager, can we call it, but it's not modern anymore. That is more about tackling the problem and not just being glorified product project manager. Not going into, okay, just executing, but also into we are not the feature factory. We are actually trying to deliver value. We are a value delivery based company. And another book that I think that sometimes it also comes as one of the classics is The Mom Test. it's really good, mainly when you are starting as a product manager, to have to start learning how to make interviews and how to get the best from your users. And I think I can add the fourth one, that is continue product discovery habits by Teresa Torres, that she was also here talking. So you
Yeah.
can see that most of these people have been here around, so you can go and find their talks.
Yes, exactly. You can, if you are on YouTube, you can find us on Product People on YouTube and see all the previous presentation and talk during in our community. But let's back to today's talk. And Mariano, Victoria is asking what are the things not to do in your 2 weeks?
Good question. I think that the worst thing that you can do is try to start delivering, trying to having impact within your first days at the company. I mean, I know that sometimes it's required, mostly if it's something that you are just, I don't know, getting on board for something that is set on fire or whatever, but you need to take your time to understand the problem. Don't try to rush yourself into delivering value, delivering impact. Well, value you can start delivering, but what I meant is not try to deliver direct value, for example, to a customer within your first 2 weeks, because you probably still don't really understand either the user or the problem. You might do it. There is people who are specialized in doing this, but I'm talking more as a generality and not as something like a particular case. I mean, I would try to convince you to not try to start writing tickets within the first 48 hours that you are in a company.
Yes, no, thank you. That's really a nice advice. And we have another question from YouTube. Elisa is asking, how do you ensure you continue growing and becoming a better PM?
I think that this is something that came from realizing what is your scope and what is enclosed under your umbrella. I guess that what you always try to do is to get a bigger problem, if you want to say. So I think that's something that came quite naturally, that you start by taking, I think it was something that I read from one of the Slack blogs, that is like, when you start as a PM, the first kind of problems that you will have is mainly focused on, for example, execution, on trying to execute the building, the payment for self-pay users checkout page. Then you will start growing into, okay, owning the checkout problem, not building the page. Then you will continue growing until you have the top on, you are the responsible for the problem of monetization across the company. I think that what you need to do is always try to look for what is the problem from where the problem I am trying to solve or I am owning is enclosed to, and just keeping that way. And it also depends on you, on how do you want to grow. If you want to grow more into a management position, so you want to go more into managing people, or do you want to go more into a path of going into staff, principal, product manager, and keep yourself as an individual contributor? That's really that really depends on what do you prefer and where are your strengths, what do you enjoy doing.
Yes, thank you so much. Now we have another question from LinkedIn. Arunail is asking, why would any company outsource the product management aspect from outsourcing firm, as it is a strategic initiative for the firm? I guess
that's a question more for you.
Yes, that's a question more for us. As product, sometimes the company is may waiting to find the perfect fit for hiring for the role. That's one of our main example. But in the meantime, you cannot have your team without a product manager. So during that time, we kind of jump in and help the company still working without missing the need of a product manager. So that's one of the examples. But let's get back to this talk. Okay. Always from LinkedIn, we are asking, is the approach during the first week differ if you are hired as a resident full-time product manager versus as an outsourced product manager contract role?
I guess that's also kind of something that we need to answer between both of
Yes.
us. I mean, I don't have experience as outsourced, so I cannot really make a fair comparison there.
Yes, I will say is also for us is really important, as Mariano said, to understand the storyline of the company and also the problem and what they are trying to solve and how we can help them. So I will say it's not really different, it's just a different timeline. We perhaps will may take a bit less time to onboarding fully, but for us are also crucial, like the first meeting are really important to attend and to understand everything about the product, because even though we may not stay for a long period of time, we still need to understand what we are building, who we are building for, and also understand, as Mariano suggests, also to understand with all the peers around the company, how can we help them and what can we do together to help the team produce the higher value. So thank you also for this question. Mariano, if you have anything to add, please do.
No, don't worry, I think it was good.
Yes. Okay, so we have another question, always from LinkedIn. Quasem is asking, I work in architecture sector, and our product, architecture design, is exclusive for some specific client. What aspect I should consider when for specific client rather than public? I guess in
Yeah. So we are talking about, please correct me if I'm wrong, we are talking about basically doing stuff ad hoc for specific clients. I don't know if by specific clients, do you mean the like one specific client or a specific segment of clients? I guess that there you have a big differentiation. I would rather suggest not to go into changes for specific clients as specific entities as one person, if you want to say it like that. But if you are tackling a specific segment of clients, you should try to see why the problem differs for them, what are the difference for them, and how do they perceive the value. And then at the end, you can potentially end up moving that to your main problem. For example, I can kind of understand what I meant from where the point I'm understanding is, for example, in my specific case, I am in charge of the public API from my company, that the public API has a different segment of users than the product itself. I mean, the product itself will be used by anyone to make calls, stuff like that, while the public API is more, like developer oriented, more technical people oriented. But at the end of the day, you end up setting your goals, your objectives, and you end up making your narrative across your specific segment of clients, and then you end up adding it to the whole problem in the top. I don't know if that helps. I mean, for example, in this, going more into an example that can be more tangible. At the end of the day, what we are trying to solve within LogMeIn is to enable remote workforces to work in an efficient way from their remote setups, right? Then from that problem, you can start derivating it for different segment users. If you want to go into the customers that will be using the go-to app, that is the application to make the calls, all that stuff, then you will have certain users. And if you want to go into the segment of people who will be consuming our APIs, there is a different segment of users, but we are overall trying to achieve fixing the same problem.
Yes, yes, thank you so much. And actually, we are just in time. That was our last question. If you are quick, we can answer maybe one more question, but you should post it in like 1 minute or even less.
Okay,
So,
we can try.
yes, there's any other question? I guess people are already going to their job and have meeting because it's already
Yeah.
9. So let me thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mariana, as well, for participating and be part of our talk and help us help our product community. Please remember that you can meet us every Thursday evening, and also sometimes we have some Thursdays meeting during this early morning. Has been a pleasure chatting with you and also with all of you in YouTube, LinkedIn, and also Zoom. You can find us on our Telegram chat, and also we are on Patreon. If you want to support us, we will be really happy to have you there. And yes, thank you, everyone.